Tippy time my damies, Top Cat here and welcome back to the channel. Today on our Hunter I want to talk to you about our Lucky Pants kits. I looked at 100 plus kits out there, most of them just use the Malfeasance, Pants and Search mods. But I believe there is more chaos to be found within our arsenal. We're going to be bouncing around a bit here today, so check the timeline if you're looking for something specific. Firstly, the Lucky Pants. This gives our hand cannons a damage bonus when we swap to them. It grows in damage with each hit. This starts at a 60% buff with that first bullet and is going to continue with every subsequent bullet. 120%, 180%, 240%, chewing out that damage bonus bullet by bullet till we hit 10 stacks. By this point we're looking at a 600% bonus. This damage window is for 6 seconds. And with the right hand cannon, we can push out damage numbers that rival the best special and heavy weapons. All whilst being a primary, so we don't need to worry about our ammo economy. But to get this bonus, it needs to be treated more like a special weapon rather than a primary. What I like to do is to run double hand cannon. You're going to want to split your hand cannons like you're picking a 5-a-side team. I'm going to break down the utilities, so depending on your encounter, you'll have a perfect combo. There are more hand cannons out there than most other weapon archetypes. When picking your arsenal, you need to consider power first, then pair it with a good ad clearing counterpart. My kit today stays about 95% the same regardless of our weapon selection. To get a Lucky's damage bonus on an elemental weapon, like say the Solar Trust, we need to have a Solar Super. But with Prismatic, that's just an easy swap and it's not going to affect the rest of our kit here. Now obviously the Malfeasance is a top choice. It's got the second best damage and large part to its catalyst now having Bauble Weapon. This is a 20% damage bonus on primary weapons. It's got 20 in the mag and every 5 rounds sets off a delayed explosion. This effect will also unstop champs. It's hard to fault it. Its only real drawback is that it uses an exotic slot. I like pairing it with a good ad clear weapon like the Nation of Beasts. It's a 140 RPM, it's craftable with Dragonfly and Bolt Shot in the other slot. I do however actually prefer the Deepstone Crypt's Posterity, and it too has Bolt Shot. Dragonfly is almost a tad redundant at the moment with that Shock and Awe perk and the artifact. These two combined are already deadlier than a bug zapper in a bathtub. If you can't access these raid weapons though, the combined action is a world drop. Personally though, I found it quite cumbersome, so avoid if possible. The Warden's Law does roughly the same amount of damage as Malfeasance, whilst being a legendary weapon. It's a 2-burst round, so will last our 6-second damage phase thanks to Force Stunted Charm, and it has Bauble Weapon for that 20% bonus. It actually drops my fat boy buddy here the quickest in 5.1 seconds. The SERAPH hand cannon drops him in 5.6 seconds, but despite this, it's still my preferred option in GMs, as its stability often allows for cleaner kills. We do however need to consider one thing. Being we're on Prismatic, the easiest way to balance our Transcendence is through kinetic damage. So using our kinetic to slay enemies will get us our Transcendence about 30% faster. The Midnight Coup is easily one of the best ad clear primaries. My favourite has Explosive Payload. This is roughly a 15% damage bonus. And with Kinetic Tremors, we lay down rapid hits on a single target to create a large, repeating kinetic explosion. This is particularly great against those unraveled targets. The CRIMILS dagger has less AoE, but it does have some fun toys. With Strategists, we can get bonus class ability energy off our kills. Paired with Adagio, we get a 20% damage bonus, so we can build that class energy fast. Now I know some of you out there use the last word for damage. I personally don't, as we waste a lot of time reloading mid-damage window. Now this doesn't mean you can't use it for ad clear. It is quite fun on console as it hits like a sack of bricks, but its twirly whirl animation will often get you killed. So my top pick for the kinetic slot was the Crimson. Now it's not strong enough to solo drop a champion at Grandmaster level, but I want it for its ad clear. It's going to reload on our precision kills whilst also healing ourselves. It's also one of the better weapons out there I've found to use the Overload hand cannon mod on. Now that we've got an air clear weapon in that kinetic slot, we need to find some good DPS in our energy slot. Enter the SIGHTLINE survey. This 180 arc hand cannon from Echo's Act 1 rolls with precision instrument. This gains damage per precision hit up to 6 stacks. Each stack increases by 5%, so at 6 stacks that's a 30% damage bonus. It also rolls with triple tap to help keep that mag fuller for longer. I keep one autoloader on my kicks so we don't have to worry about reloading. As our DPS weapon, in order for that Lucky Pants to work, the weapon has to be fully loaded when we draw it out. There are, however, other ways to increase its uptime. The Trust from Gambit is a personal favourite of mine. It too has Vorpal weapon on it, and whilst it doesn't hit as hard as its kinetic counterparts, it's still enough to solo kill our Overload champs at Grandmaster level. But its best feature is MBS Assassin. This allows me to jam 32 rounds into that hand cannon, so I'll always be ready for that swap and drop once that 9-second Lucky Pants cooldown is finished. I want to circle back to some air clear in our energy slot. Now obviously the SUNSHOT is a bit of a no-brainer. It's been goated for air clear for some time now. And whilst I did enjoy it here with this kit, I am used to running it with a proper Solar 3.0 build. I felt it a little mid and not worth giving up that exotic slot for. Luckily we've got the Luna's Howl that we can enhance to give it that saucy kind of incandescent. AoE effects like this and jolt and destabilizing will meld with this kit, as we've got Stylist Executioner to make us go invisible off the back of our debuff kills. And naturally, heal clip in that left hand slot is an S tier option to keep us alive in our endgame. The Word of CROTA is our best void air clear option. It can have some absolutely devastating combos like Dragonfly and destabilizing rounds. It's pretty overkill though. I preferred running it with destabilizing rounds and repulsive brace for both good air clear and tons of overshields. Paired with shield crush, this will make our melees regen quicker and hit 25% harder. It also has a great DPS combo with precision instrument and expanding abyss in the artifact. The last hand cannon I wanted to talk about is the ERIANA'S bow. It may use special ammo, but it hits harder than a Samoan mum's slipper slap. It's always prepared to do those big damage numbers as it has inbuilt autoloader, but most of all, it's got a built-in anti-barrier. This recently saw a 67% buff to its shield breaker bullet, so it now properly one-bangs those shields. Whilst this does do great damage, you're only going to get max 6 shots during those Lucky Pants damage windows, and unfortunately, this bucks like you put it in the wrong hole. But now, it's also got another trick that I completely missed. When we break a shield, either barrier or solar, we get a free ignition giving us another 37k damage. I found this particularly helpful against those a-hole wizards. Now hopefully you can see how you might mix and match your arsenal, so let's take a quick look at the build itself. We're using that Smoke and Dawn combo to weaken for 15% and buff with Radiant for 25%. That Smoke will linger to proc it multiple times, so it will last that entire damage window, granting us a 44% weapon bonus. Gambler's Dodge will ensure we've always got access to these buff bombs. We make Orbs of Power from our Siphon mods and Reaper mod. Powerful Attraction will pick up our orbs when we dodge, and Recuperation will heal us, giving us a kind of makeshift worm husk. I spend my charge on Explosive Finisher. I always love the grapple's mobility. It's darkness attuned, so it will help balance our bars as we do a bit of smoke damage with this kit. And I always love me some unravel effects. We're using that slow dodge. This will debuff so we can go invis off kills. It's also darkness damage, and it slows so we get that bonus class regen, giving us a great dodge to melee feedback loop, so whenever we want to burst damage, we've got a buff bomb ready to go. This kit is primarily primary play, so with Solitude we can debuff our target's damage output, so we can stand toe to toe, tip to tip, whilst gunning them down. All of these should roughly balance out our transcendence regardless of our weapon loadout. Now a lot of this kit relies on our dodges. Hope gives us quicker class cooldowns when we are buffed. Focusing strike and bolstering detonation give us better class cooldown when we damage with our nades and our melees. Awakening is going to feed us elemental pickups from our multi-kills, so does elemental siphon. This however will create them from our kinetic weapons. Using elemental siphon we get charged with light on top of their immediate cooldown bump. Shield crush will buff our melees and grenades damaging cooldowns. Radiant orbs will give us a steady source of radiant off of those orb pickups. With faceted purpose, this will grant us a level of survivability regardless of our super selection. I was favouring the Storm's Edge super. This will allow me to amplify off of those orb pickups, giving me that steady 30% DR thanks to Galvanic Armor. Now our only artifact changes required come from our super choices. Void Gun, Void Super, Expanding Abyss for bonus damage on our weakened targets. Arc has Shock and Awe, tons of jolts, tons of ionic traces. And on Solar, if you're running something that scorches, Solar Fulmination is a good option. Feel free to pause here for all my mods, stats and artifact, but there will be a dim link in the description down below. This kit will live past this season's artifact. It doesn't rely on it, it's just embellished by it. If you're intending on doing raids or dungeons, just swap in surge mods as required, but I do prefer this for running guns. My favourite combos were the Malfeasance with Word of CROTA, Midnight Coup with ERIANA'S Vow. Both the SERAPH hand cannon and the Truss paired beautifully for a cowboy combo, giving me an exotic slot in the heavy. But my personal favourite was the Crimson and the SIGHTLINE survey. But the best thing I like about our Prismatic Lucky Pants build is you can make up your own mind. I'd love to hear your favourite combos in the comments down below. Make sure to thumb it if you dug it, sub if you're new, and as always, tippy time my damies, what a tie.
Bottom of everything, he's the most tip-top.